Well, good Saturday afternoon, everyone. It is Saturday, December 16th here. I wanted to get on and do a video and look at the potential for some severe weather and even several tornadoes across much of Florida, mainly overnight, very late on Saturday night, more likely overnight, early Sunday morning, maybe into the mid Sunday morning time frame. And this will be really across the bottom two-thirds of the Florida peninsula. We've got a little bit of a complex forecast, but wanted to jump in that, kind of explain that, and then look at the threat and exactly kind of what the models are showing us right now. So this is our mid-level water vapor satellite imagery right now. And so what this is showing is basically the water content that is in the air. And so we can see a lot of dry air here over the southern plains in Texas, northern Mexico, even the western Gulf of Mexico. What you can notice here is a little bit of some spin developing here in the eastern Gulf of Mexico. Anywhere that we see this white and green, this is a lot of storms and rain that's in the atmosphere, a lot of high water content. And so that's kind of battling this dry air on the backside. So as this pushes east, we're actually going to start to see more of a circulation develop here across the eastern Gulf of Mexico and generally move off to the northeast here across kind of northern Florida in the overnight hours. And this is going to create almost the look of a tropical system. Now, this isn't going to be a tropical storm or a hurricane or anything like that, but it is going to have that spin in the atmosphere, that low pressure system. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a band of storms, maybe even a couple different bands of storms here that are going to race across Florida in the overnight hours and early part of our Sunday. And so that's kind of the upper level system here that's going to trigger this event. And we can see that just starting to kind of form here. And as we go through the rest of our Saturday, we'll really start to see that develop. And again, it's going to move kind of northeast across Florida and fire off really a threat probably from this area all the way down the Florida peninsula. So this is our main area, kind of these bottom two-thirds of the Florida peninsula. And again, this will likely be mainly overnight and really, really late, probably into our Sunday in those early morning hours. So let's look at a couple of kind of the dynamics with models here. One thing that I did want to look at is kind of first and foremost when we look at our instability. And this is our HRRR model that really kind of just came out our mid-afternoon here on Saturday. And what we can see is we move forward in time here to our kind of overnight hours. Right now, what we can see is pockets of periods where there is some instability here in the lowest levels over, again, really this kind of bottom two-thirds of Florida. It's not extraordinary instability. Again, obviously, this is not during the day. This is going to be overnight, so we don't have that heat from sunshine that's going to be impacting. But there is going to be enough instability with the land interaction here and that approaching storm system that I think we will have a chance for some severe weather, whether it be just some strong storms and damaging winds, or maybe even the chance of some isolated tornadoes as well. But we are going to have that instability here in those lowest levels. Now, when we look at another thing that can be a little bit helpful sometimes is this is our updraft helicity swath map. And this would go until around lunchtime on Sunday. So anywhere that we see kind of these green streaks right here, we've got some down here, and then off the coast here, off the east side of Florida. All of these are updraft kind of models. And so that the model is saying this is where I think some storms are going to track across. And so we can kind of see almost that outline of spin that if we have our low pressure system that's spinning across here, across Florida, you can see there's some storms on the backside, some storms down here to the south, some that are coming towards the southwest side of Florida. And then it does look like the models are showing maybe more of a threat off the eastern seaboard of Florida here. But you can kind of see that spin in the atmosphere and these different projected lines of storms. So these aren't terribly accurate on exactly where storms may form, but it does give us a little bit of an idea that we may have some little bit more long track, probably supercells that are going to be spinning likely mainly in the ocean. So I think we'll see a probably significant amount of water spouts. I don't know if we'll be able to capture any of them, but certainly if you're out in the Gulf of Mexico or the Atlantic here, I think there'll be lots of water spouts. And again, some of these kind of stay together and make landfall along the coast? Or could we get something that spins up here over land? I think we certainly could, looking at the environment. So that's one interesting thing to look at. The other thing is when we look at our simulated kind of reflectivity here, let me go to that. and just give us an idea of kind of what this may look like. So if we go to, this would be about 6 p.m. tonight. So we can see that low level system kind of right here. And then we got a lot of the rain, more just kind of just unorganized storms to the north here, but then along the low pressure, and then especially to the east and southeast here, we've got a couple of these bands of storms. And so as we move forward in time, what we're going to see is that low kind of continues to move off to the east northeast, and then those bands are going to come towards the western coast of Florida here in our overnight hours. And so again, will there be enough instability? It may just be so kind of wet and soggy across Florida that maybe that helps to limit any of the stronger storms. But this is showing the chance of some stronger isolated cells, probably here across the southern, third of Florida, probably, but possibly even a couple that come in around the Tampa Bay area here overnight as well. And so what we can see is that this develops. It kind of tracks over Florida, and then starts to head up, maybe over the Atlantic, maybe over the coastal areas of Georgia and South Carolina into our Sunday. But we've got this big line of individual cells that will be taking place. Again, likely, probably a saving grace is that it's off the coast of Florida by then, but something that we do have to watch. And when we look at what the environment's going to look like, for example, this is showing, again, this is at 7Z. So this would be early morning hours of Sunday. We can see this batch of supercells that it's projecting here off the southwest coast of Florida. If we take an example sounding here, a couple things that we can note. This is a pretty classic, decent looking hodograph here, showing our lower level winds really curving here. So that does give us a decent threat for a tornado in these lowest levels of the atmosphere. So that is something that you want to look for if you think there might be a chance of tornadoes. We can see that winds are at the surface almost out of the southeast, then out of the south, and then a little bit kind of south-southwest, and pretty strong here in these lowest levels of the atmosphere as well. We also have between the red line and that dashed white line, that's our projected instability. It's not overly incredible, obviously, because it's overnight, but it is enough. We have 3 CAPE of up to 70 joules per kilogram here. Typically anything over 50, we can have severe storms. So definitely showing an atmosphere, especially off the southwest coast of Florida here in the overnight hours, that would be conducive. And again, if we see these storms kind of make landfall here on this southern tip of Florida, I think we could see some reports of some tornadoes in the overnight hours. So definitely, if you live in Florida, stay weather aware, have a way, whether it be your phone or a weather radio, have a way to get warnings if something were to be occurring overnight. Likely this will be while most people are asleep. So have a way to get those warnings, and certainly definitely stay safe here on your Saturday and Sunday this weekend, and hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you back here for the next one.